How about hummus?
Do we know what the bracha that we just said? Shehakol nihiyah bidvaro. Do we know what that means? What does this bracha mean? It's one of the most foundational blessings. We make it over water, we make it over juice, we make it over chaim, candy, meat, fish, anything that's not wheat-based or grown in the ground or grown upon a tree. We make a shehakol. What does this shehakol mean? That everything shehakol nihiyah bidvaro. That everything comes into being via Hashem's or through Hashem's word. Ki hu amar vayehi hu tzivah vayamot. Because Hashem said it was, and it was. Everything in this world is created on a constant basis from nothing to something through Hashem's words. In other words, everything that we see is Hashem expressing Himself. When Chassidus explains that we say Hashem spoke to Moshe, Hashem spoke to Abraham, that everything comes to be through His word, it's not a voice like we have. But what is a function of speech? What is this function of our words? What is the function? To reveal, to express that which is in our mind, or that which we have in our heart. So too, when it says that Hashem speaks, it means that Hashem is revealing. Everything that's in this world is being constantly created, being brought from nothing to something through Hashem's words. And therefore, every moment and every single second and every experience is an expression of God's ultimate benevolence. There are words that we could connect to, and there are words that transcend our understanding. And nevertheless, it is still the truth that this is Hashem's words, including what we're experiencing right now. Including what we're experiencing right now. Dov, let me ask you a question. I gave you a l'chaim before, and you asked me for a little bit, right? So I gave you a half a shot glass, and I asked you, what can you learn from this?
From a half a shot of glass?
Yeah, what can we learn from a half a shot of glass? What is it? Because the Baal Shem Tov teaches that being that everything is divine providence, everything that occurs happens through Hashem's will. What do we learn from? So even when you see a half a cup of l'chaim, there is something to learn in serving Hashem. Anytime you hear something, you see something, it doesn't matter how it came to be, who said it, how it came, why he said it. There's a lesson, there's a question, and what can I learn from this in order to fulfill my purpose in God's world? So what do we learn from a half a cup? You know, when we see a half a cup, there is half empty and half full, right? We spoke about Reb Mendel's perspective of it. Reb Mendel said that when you compare a little shot glass that is full to the brim versus the bottle from which the l'chaim came from, well, the bottle has more l'chaim, has more alcohol, but the cup is complete. And in serving Hashem, more than Hashem wants more, He wants us to be complete. He wants us to serve Him with completion and sincerity. So sometimes when a person sees that this cup is full until here, it's completely empty for the most part. But then when you pour the contents of this cup into this little shot glass, you see that it's completely full. Sometimes the vessel exceeds the light. And it's not the problem with the light, but as much as the expectation is not correct. But there's something even more that is so pertinent to today and the situation we're living through right now. Because we're literally living in unprecedented times. We're literally on the cusp of Mashiach. Everything that we're seeing right now playing out in the world theater has already been written in the Talmud, in Midrashim, letter by letter, event by event, nation by nation. Who's the players? What are they going to be doing? Everything is written, including the news that we got at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. last night. And we spoke about this in the Farbrengen by Simchat Torah in Shul. But there's something that we can learn from a half a cup. What is it? That whenever we see a deficit, the first thing that we have to think about is, how do I complete this deficit? How do I complete that which is missing? When we notice that something is empty, it's a void, instead of turning us off, instead of making us complain, instead of making us upset or angry, we have to ask ourselves, how and what do I do about it? After the Yom Kippur War, where Israel saw massive devastation, it's in contrast to what we're seeing now. It's, like we said before, 2 hairs, a little bit too much hair, a lot. But Rabbi Israel Meir Lau, the then chief rabbi of Israel, came to meet with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the Rebbe asked Rabbi Israel Meir Lau, what is the disposition of the Jewish people in Israel right now? And Rabbi Israel Meir Lau, with utter frustration and pain, looked at the Rebbe and says, it's not good. People are besides themselves right now. Everyone is asking, Ma yihiyeh, what is going to be? What's going to be now? Rebbe looked at Israel Meir Lau and he started crying. Tears came from the Rebbe's eyes. The Rebbe put his hand on Rabbi Lau's hand and says, throughout all of history, Jews are not known to ask what's going to be. But rather, throughout all of history, Jews always asked, what are we going to do? What can be done right now? Because what's going to be is not in our control. We're not in charge of outcomes. We're not in charge of products. We're in charge of the process. The process is totally in our hands. This is what Hashem gives us, raw material, as we spoke about in the previous Farbrengen on Shabbat, and we spoke about it last week, the classes prior to last week, that Hashem gives us raw material, and as His partners, asks us to bring the raw material into its complete state. Just like, and we brought this example many times, when we bring steak. Hey, Janet. Welcome back. Okay. When we bring steak home from the supermarket and it's raw, it doesn't occur to anyone to say to the one who bought it, are you trying to kill me? Are you expecting me to eat raw meat? But rather, we understand that the raw meat is only half of the story. The other half, and what are we going to do about it? How are we going to treat it? How are we going to spice it up? Are we going to broil it? Are we going to barbecue it? Are we going to cook it? But it never occurs to anyone that the raw material should remain raw. This is now just with food and steak and so on and so forth, but it's with our lives. As we spoke about many, many times before. Asher bara this weekend, we say every single Friday. At the end of the process, the word la'asot implies God created for us to come and do something about it. God gives us raw material and asks us. We know what happened and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, in a split second, there's no more leftists, no more rightists, no more people who side with Bibi over the other. There's no Reform, there's no Orthodox, there's no Conservadox. We're all Jews. Certainly the terrorists see it that way. When they were ravaging through Israel, they weren't looking for Orthodox or right-wingers or left-wingers or any-wingers. Where are the Jews? Yimach Shmo, when Hitler came, where are the Jews? When Stalin, where are the Jews? Where are the Jews? The question is not on them, the question is us. Where is our Judaism? Where are we? But today, Baruch Hashem, you see, after we've been crushed, the fine oil came out. I see several people here which I know are heavily involved, right there, and right there, and right there, and right there, and right there, heavily involved in the support of our troops, and support of our people in Israel right now. We're coming out. We should be proud. Those who wielded the guns and the knives, the machetes, were walking tall and proud. And when you think about it, when you really think about it, what did they think is going to happen as a result? Did they think that we're going to just take this lying down? But they knew exactly what's going to happen, and they did it anyway. Proudly. As we said before, from the Baal Shem Tov, we learned that from everything and everyone we have what to learn. If they could walk around spewing utter hate and barbarianism and do this proudly, without a shame, without a whim, can't the chosen people do the same? Can we not walk around, especially right now, proudly? Do we have to constantly lower our heads down? But now you see the truth. Now you see within us that the truth comes out so brightly. Because the Talmud says that when the Mashiach, how can we recognize Mashiach? He'll be walking with his head up. What does that mean? Over time, we've learned to bow our heads down, to bow our statures down, to take off the kippah, to take off the tzitzit, to take off this, to change our name, to change the disposition. We change, just to appease the world. As though we can somehow appease people who hate us for no other reason other than that we're us. And yet, right now we see that this is a time of Mashiach, because for the first time, collectively, all of us are walking with our heads up high. Yes, I'm Jewish. Yes, I'm proud. Last week I was in a rally here in the park, and there was a certain boy who was introduced by the name of Lucas. He spoke brilliantly. I gotta say, I was jealous of his speech. He spoke so brilliantly, so to the point. He was on fire. The only critique I had, and we Farbrengen about it at Shabbos, I says, wait a second, who are you representing? What are you representing? What is your Hebrew name? He says, Yehuda Israel. I said, so what are you trading for what? Yehuda is the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yehuda is the lion. Israel, Li Rosh. We are the ministers. We are the crown of Hashem's. We are the jewel of Hashem's crown.
You know, today you gave another speech.
Yes.
And
today,
by this name.
That's right. And that's exactly. Today he made a brilliant speech.
Oh,
And how did he introduce himself? Yehuda Israel. Now you see that even kids who are kids and people who to begin with are somewhat here, somewhat there, and then all of a sudden the fire comes out. All of a sudden the light comes out. If the one thing these savages did It crushes to the point where our finest oil will come out. And once this comes out, nothing can stand in front of us. Because this light, this oil is used to kindle the menorah, which illuminates the world. And we know, as the Alter Rebbe teaches, that a little bit of light dispels a lot of darkness. So right now we're in a situation which is the greatest opportunity we've ever had. Because all of us, even in the most cerebral way, if we even, God forbid, put aside the Torah, we all know that we grow the most during dire straits. We are pushed to soul search, to examine, to excavate the inner truth within ourselves, specifically when things go south. Because when things go good, when things are easy, okay, we could be cruising, we could be coasting, and so on and so forth. How do we know if a fish is healthy?
When it's alive.
It's alive, Navdafka is healthy.
Gills?
How do we know if a fish is healthy?
The gills?
The gills, the eyes, the scales,
The price tag.
the price tag,
So he's dead.
The smell.
the smell. One of the ways to be able to ascertain as to whether or not a fish is healthy is to see if it's being carried by the stream or it's able to swim against the stream. An unhealthy fish is drawn by the stream. Wherever the stream goes, that's where it goes. A healthy fish has the stamina to go against the tide, against the stream. When we are carried by the stream, whatever's convenient, whatever's easy, today's Yom Kippur, I'll go to shul. Tomorrow's not, I don't have to go. Today's this and this. When we go according to the stream, and especially the stream of the world, Olam, the word Olam is etymologically connected to the word Ha'elam, concealment. The word world means a construct of concealment. So when the concealment just basically floats us wherever it wants, wherever it needs, it's not a sign of health. We are healthy specifically, we're able to stand and go against the convenience, against the tide. And if one thing these chaleres did is wake us up. This, to a certain extent, we don't understand Hashem's ways. Lo machshavoti machshavotechem, lo drachechem drachai, Hashem says. My thought streams are not like yours. Your mannerisms are not like mine. We can't understand God's mannerisms. As the saying goes, if I understood God, I would be God. But certainly from every experience there's what to learn and what to see. And here we see the most magnificent moment in our history. That we've been attacked, brutalized, and the world is dancing. College universities are dancing. Reporting that we are cruel, that we are hard. We don't expect anything different. We've already have history, we've seen it through and through. But notwithstanding all this, Am Yisrael Chai. What does it mean that Am Yisrael Chai? What does it mean, Chai? Life. What does life mean? How do we determine life? What's the telltale sign of the beginning of life? And then that constantly has to happen in order for the person to remain living. Heartbeat. But even before the heartbeat, the cells constantly multiply. The cells constantly, from the second of conception, one cell becomes 2 to 4, and so on and so forth. There's constant multiplication, constant growth. Am Yisrael Chai means we're not stuck in some stage of history. We're not stuck in some layer of concealment or of a construct of concealment or convenience, however you want to deem it. but rather we are now have been forced to grow exponentially. And this right now is a portal up. There's a portal open. As we spoke about right before Rosh Hashanah, what did we spoke that the Rosh Hashanah Tav Shin Pei Daled 5784 spells out Tihiyeh Shnat Plaot Dgulot, that this year will be of intense, exponential wonders and miracles. The issue, what's a wonder? Something which doesn't fit into logic. It doesn't fit into the cycle. It doesn't fit into the system. And that's why it's a wonder. It's transcendent. Now, if a wonder comes into the world without having proper vessels for it, it will suspend the world and the world will start acting loopy and chaotic. We've seen, and I've posted videos, and we all seen videos where the Rebbe in 1967 and then in 1973, where the Rebbe said that in order to be able to sweeten these judgments, because as explained, when Mashiach will come, judgment will be the superior of the attributes. In the time of exile, we cling on to kindness, to easiness, to malleability, and so on and so forth. We're easygoing. We like it. It's easy, and Hashem conducts the world through chesed. But when Mashiach will come, Gvura will rise to the top. What is the word Gvura? Hidgabrut, overcoming. It'll be such intense energy that flows into this world. And there's two ways that this energy could flow into this world. One, directly, but it comes with a lot of intensity, as we're seeing right now. And Kabbalah Chassidus explains there's another way in which we could draw this energy by sweetening the judgment even before it comes down here. In other words, the same intense energy comes, but it comes in a way that we could harness it immediately. For example, if it rains teeping, it gets drop by drop. But imagine everything that rains in the course of a day, and even an hour, instead of drop by drop, it just falls from the sky as one big puddle. It'll overwhelm the earth immediately, because the earth cannot accept it as fast. So when Gevura comes into this world, it seems like we're dealing with a massive flood of energy. It's coming from every direction right now. As though until 2 weeks ago, there wasn't enough chaos in this world. Now the world has been thrown into complete. This chaos is so big that it's actually trumping Ukraine and Biden. And all of a sudden, Israel is in the center of the universe once again. But herein lies our opportunity to fill this cup. Right now, we have to let all conveniences aside. Right now, we have to accept that we are the chosen nation. And being the chosen nation, we're chosen for what? What are we chosen for?
I was asking that today, actually.
So when Hashem chose us, He chose us to be a light unto the nations. Hashem chose us to be the light. What does it mean, the light? What do you need light for? You can walk into a room when it's pitch black, and the room is the same room. Turn on the light, turn off the light, same room, the same furniture, nothing changed. What is a light? We say Motzei Shabbat, a pasuk from the Megillat Esther, La Yehudim Hayta Ora v'Simcha v'Sason. For the Jews had light, Ora v'Simcha, light and happiness, etc. What is the connection between light and happiness? What's the connection? Rabbi Mos, what's the connection between light and happiness?
It has to come from within you.
Fine, but what's the connection between light and happiness?
Well, it can come from you directly.
So let's go back to the dark room. when you walk into this dark room, the same furniture is there as when the light is on. The only difference is when you're walking into a dark room, you don't, as the Rebbe said over here said, we don't see. So it's easy to stumble. It's easy to fall. It's easy to drop things. Somebody hands you a diamond and you don't see it. What do you feel? A rock. Because all you feel is the weight of the stone. You don't see the preciousness of it. When you turn on the light, all of a sudden everything seems, now you could see. Now everything is illuminated. Now you know, do I go this direction? Is this a rock? Is this a diamond?
It's a pathway.
Exactly. We're illuminating the pathways. That's what we're chosen for. We are here to illuminate the world. This is our function as a people. That's what we're chosen for, and that's why the world holds us to the standard. And right now, each and every one of us has to take upon ourselves immediately to let go of the convenience and be part of the light and disseminate the light. We've spoken about many, many times in the course of the last 2 weeks, not to share any negative videos. Not to. We want to show the world, but the world already has all these other videos. They know. We have to be the agents of light, to share messages of positive, of hope, of Yehuda Israel, of Rebbe Shoshan over here, who literally turned our house into a warehouse until it was no longer viable and it had to come to a bigger. Yesterday, I inadvertently started a tefillin campaign. Rabbi Sindina was speaking about starting a tefillin campaign for the soldiers because many soldiers in Israel right now want to start donning tefillin. The morning after the attack, I got a call from my cousin who is a head shaliach of Be'er Sheva, which is right over Gaza. And he is the rabbi of the base over there, of the Golani bases. And he said, we need blankets, we need sheets, we need pillows, because 300,000 reservists just walked in and they have nowhere to sleep. They're literally sleeping on the floor. They have no toiletries, they don't have tissues, toilet paper. But it's just as much as they're asking for that, and even more they're asking for tefillin right now. And tzitzit. And they don't want just any tefillin, a cheap tefillin. They want to put the best tefillin. And these are people that until this very moment, like me and tefillin, ma shayachut bichlal. But all of a sudden, the olive is crushed and the fine oil comes out. And the Jew says, of course, I want to put on tefillin. Of course I want to do a mitzvah. You know how many people that I spoke by the rally that was last week? I met a politician, John Kamen. I don't know his politics one direction or another. It doesn't matter. At this point, we don't look at this. The Rebbe said many times, especially now, especially this moment, it's so important not to utter a single negative word about a Yid. A single, even if you have all the reasons to. Don't. Because we're all one big body, as we spoke about in the Ahavat Yisrael classes. And if there is a weak spot, that's where the bacteria, that's where the microbe, it could penetrate. Right now, we cannot have a weak spot in our body. We just cannot. This is not the time. This is not the time to pass judgment. It's not the time to criticize. Right now, the focus is light. The focus is how do I bring more light? That's it. And if I see somebody acting not in an appropriate way, then the only thing that I should be is the light for this person to try to help them see the truth and raise them upwards. But not, God forbid, to chas v'shalom condemn them and bring them down. Because the Satan is waiting in Shamayim. The Zohar says that the Satan came in front of David HaMelech. In front of Hashem, it says, Hashem, you have to punish David for the episode with Bathsheba. Because he sinned. And Hashem says, no, he didn't sin. He didn't sin. The Satan says, no, he sinned. You have to punish him. So Hashem says, no, he did not sin. And then Satan brings what David HaMelech says, Chatat, in chapter 51, I've sinned. He said it himself. Satan is waiting right now for somebody to condemn someone, to somebody to look down on someone, to somebody to call someone, even for the quote-unquote right reasons. This is not the time. This is not the time to look at Democratic, Republican, this, left, right. This is not the time. This is what brought us to this time. Right now we have to put every and any differences aside. You know, there's a very famous anecdote. There were two brothers who were at odds with each other to the point they didn't speak. They didn't speak. One of the brothers, had a wedding for his son and didn't invite his other brother. Too awkward, too tense, or whatever it is. An hour before the wedding, the father of the groom notices that the father didn't arrive. His own father didn't arrive. So he calls his father. He says, "Daddy, where are you?" He says, "Hold on. If your brother is not your brother, then I am not your father either. Because if I'm your father, that means he's your brother. But he is not your brother, not you're acknowledging I'm not your father either." B'cheinu avinu kol anikecha, bless us all as one. What are we saying? How many times do we say, Oseh shalom b'mromav u'yaseh shalom aleinu? What does that mean? What does that mean, Oseh shalom b'mromav? What does that mean? Oseh shalom b'mromav u'yaseh shalom aleinu. What does that mean? What does that mean? Means he makes harmony in his abode. Hashem makes harmony in his abode. Therefore, he'll make harmony within us. So Chassidus asks, what does that mean? He makes harmony in abode. What challenges are in his abode in heaven? Chassidus, the Kabbalah explains, in the heaven, Michael, the angel of kindness, the angel of water, and Gabriel, the angel of fire, the angel of justice, they contradict each other. Fire and water. Gvura, chesed and gvura. Until Hashem reveals himself, and then they harmonize. And the example is given, like two ministers who are at odds with each other, and all of a sudden the king walks in, and they both stand, there's no more conflict. The king's here. What's the depth of this? The Alter Rebbe explains, and the Rebbe explains in the discourse, as we spoke about in the classes of Ahavat Yisrael, that how could we love each other if we're so unique from each other, if we're so different from each other? One comes from Persia, another one comes from Iraq, another one comes from Russia, another one comes from Ukraine, another one comes from America, and one comes from Kings Point, the other one comes from Great Neck, and one comes from Salarak, and these are like East Coast, West Coast kind of stuff. So
Don't forget New Jersey.
and Jersey.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, you have to tell me about it. I
Can't
forgot.
wait to read that. They'll let you in here,
Where's the visa?
But how could we love each other is because just like one father in conception can have 5 kids. 5 kids. Each child is going to be different. In the time of conception, the seed, all of the children are one. In the father's mind, they're all one. It's just when they are born, each one is born individually, differently, with different properties, different. Just like in our body, in the time of conception, the potential for an entire body, heart, liver, right ventricle, left ventricle, spleen, brain, toenail, right, left finger, but it's all coming from the same source. It just encloses itself in different organs, in different sinews, and so on and so forth. So too, even though we might be so different, but we are one Father. And each one of us reveals God in the way that our vessel. Like, a trumpet makes sounds its way, the violin makes, each one does it differently. But it doesn't mean, God forbid, that we are different. It means we're expressing God differently, each one in their vicinity, each one according to the strength and weaknesses that God gave them. So I come to Cayman, I said, do you put on tefillin? And it says, I haven't in many, many, many years. So I said, would you? And he was hesitating for a second. And I said, would you do it for a soldier? Because the Lubavitcher Rebbe taught, especially in 1967, 1970, the Rebbe says, when a Jew puts on tefillin here, you're literally saving a soldier in Israel, a citizen in Israel. The question is, how does that work? I'm putting on tefillin, how does that affect them? But once we're all one big body. One of the greatest expressions I heard, that we're one soul living through millions of bodies. So when we do something here, it automatically affects them. And he says, yeah, I put on tefillin. When? First thing in the morning, literally I came to his house. He was outside of his house in his pajamas, waiting for me. Literally, he was waiting for me. He put on a tefillin and he started davening. I wanted to say the Shema with him. He took the Siddur and davened beautifully. Then he called his wife. And I asked her, do you like Shabbos candles? Would you like? Of course I like Shabbat candles. In other words, all the resistance now is gone. It's completely gone. This is the time to capitalize on this. This is the time to harmonize. Oseh Shalom B'Romav means when God reveals their source, that Michal and Gabriel come from the same source, they're automatically harmonized. The differences, the exterior differences, are let go, and all of a sudden we harmonize and we become one. This is what we say in Amidah. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Eli, what does that mean, Eli? Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha.
Sim.
Place.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Peace. Abracha.
Tova.
Good.
Goodness. Ubracha. What's bracha?
Blessing.
Blessing. Sim Shalom. Please endow us with shalom. Shalom is not peace. Shalom is harmony. Peace could be you in one corner, I'm in another corner. We don't speak to each other like Rodney Dangerfield. My wife and I take separate vacations. We have separate dates. We have separate friends. We have separate bedrooms, separate homes. We do everything to maintain marital peace. That is peace. That's peace. No, that's peace. That's exactly what peace is. Nobody's fighting. Nobody's throwing rocks at each other. That's peace. We're not asking for peace. We're asking for harmony. Harmony means, as the Nachman of Breslov said, that when one person speaks, another person speaks, what is that called? You're speaking over me. It cancels each other out. But when one person sings and another person sings along, they're not canceling. What are they doing? Harmonizing. They're accentuating each other. One might have a higher voice, a lower voice, and this. It brings out nuances that could have never happened until this came together. Sim Shalom means endow us with shalom. And why shalom? The last words of the Talmud, Lo Matzah Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem didn't find a better vessel for his blessing other than harmony. Shanei, it says, Hashem Ozlam Oitan, Hashem will give might, strength to his people. Hashem will bless his people with harmony. When does Hashem give us might and intensity and tovah, goodness and blessing? When we are harmonized. When we are harmonized. When we are together. I heard from my son, that he heard from intelligence in the army, that they were watching us, meaning the terrorists were watching us at odds with each other. And they say, this is the time to strike. This is the precise time to strike. When Haman, the villain, the source of Hitler, Yimach Shmo, introduced the evil decree of genocide, of murdering, God forbid, we should never be every man, woman, and child in one day. How did he introduce this to Achashverosh? Yeshno am echad mefuzar mufurad. There's one nation that is dispersed and is separated amongst all your vicinities, etc. The Rebbe explains, what was he saying? He was saying there's a nation that is marked by oneness. And as so long as they're one, so long as they have shalom, Hashem protects them. But right now, they're dispersed, they're all over the place, and they're separate from each other. Now is the time. The immune system has been compromised. Now is the time. What did Mordechai do? Mordechai gathered all the children, and all the Jews stood in brotherly and sisterly harmony throughout an entire year. That's why we give Mishloach Manot on Purim, to show the camaraderie, that we share food amongst each other. That's why we sit together as a feast on Purim, to show the camaraderie amongst each other. The way to be able to change and illuminate, transform, and bring Mashiach right now is first and foremost endearing each other. If until this very moment we had our spats, our discrepancies, our judgment, even for the right reason, right now we have to put all that aside, completely aside. Completely, not even a shred of it. Those who need to be forgiven need to be forgiven. Those that we need to apologize, we need to apologize. Those that we need to embrace, we need to embrace. Those that we need to compliment, let us compliment non-stop. We should walk around with smiles on our face, and we should walk around with compliments on the tip of our tongue just to give each other. This has always been the strength. The Talmud tells us something powerful. That Hashem is based on a Navi. There was a Navi, there was a prophet who complained to Hashem, they're idol worshipping the Jewish people. Why is there no consequence? The Talmud says Hashem is willing to overlook idol worship, but Hashem cannot bear when we are separate from each other. The Talmud tells us in David HaMelech's generation, King David, everyone was righteous. Everyone was thoroughly familiar with the Torah backwards and forwards. But unfortunately, when they would go to war, there was casualties. In contrast to that, there was a king called Achav. He was a wicked, wicked king. He brought idolatry. He did so many. And yet, when the Jewish people would go to war, at that, they would be triumphant. Not even a single casualty. How could this be? Because in David HaMelech's generation, although they were all righteous, but they were always at odds with each other. In Achav's generation, they were not. They were completely opposite. But they were so solidified. They were so one with each other. Those of us, on Friday we had a class, I posted it on chats. When Moshe Rabbeinu, first let's make a chaim. Let's make a chaim. Doctor L'chaim, much success in fulfilling your role in this world. Mayor, L'chaim, are you lefty or righty? Not that it matters right now, but...
I'm ambidextrous.
As all we are. Dov. L'chaim Chavrocha.
Having some kind of fun, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. Thank you. Jan L'chaim? Much success in bringing harmony to couples. Chag Havracha. Chag Havracha.
That's,
No, that-
oh, that.
I'm still working on this.
Chag Havracha. Anyone else?
Anyone else?
Chag Havracha. Time to get married.
Yes, amen.
Johnny, you say the bracha Shakom? Say Baruch.
Zeta would really hurt my feelings.
Shakom ya bifaro. I mean,
Zeta sounds like a video game.
Cheers to victory.
Chag Havracha. Chag.
To you.
Hi yarada, ya yarada, ya yarada, la yarada, my yarada, la ya yarada, la hey, la. And Moshe, you know the nigun. Hi yarada.